Welcome to Startup Spokane, where hosts Steve Traben and Megan Halsey explore the excitement and momentum growing throughout Spokane's expanding startup community. Startup Spokane is a joint effort between Greater Spokane Incorporated's Startup Spokane, our friends at Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Now, here are your hosts, Steve and Megan.
Welcome to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Media, your podcast home for everything entrepreneurship related in the Spokane region. I'm your host, Steve Traben. Joining me is Megan Halsey. And Startup Spokane is a program of Greater Spokane Incorporated. So whether you have an idea, you're launching, or you're growing your business, we're here to provide you with resources to help you be successful. So with that, Megan, let's get our guest introduced today.
I am really excited that today we are hosting Robbi Katherine Anthony. Robbi is a serial entrepreneur and is the co-founder of Gravity. And Robbi, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I'm currently running a software startup called Gravity. I've been running ventures for about the last 10 years. I've had success in the hardware space and the software sector before. Definitely really went into hardware for a couple of years, and this is kind of my first foray back into software after a brief hiatus. So it's good to be back. As they say, hardware is hard, but software is also hard.
I was going to say,
maybe more hard. But let's talk about Gravity. What exactly is Gravity? What's the concept?
Yeah, so Gravity is a dating app. And so unlike the other dating applications, it is a matchmaking platform. And you actually do not pick your own matches. So traditionally with something like Tinder or even Match.com, you are in some way in control of who you're getting matched up with. On Gravity, you have no control over that. It's other people doing it, and then we crowdsource it, so you get an aggregate recommendation as to who people think you should be with. So succinctly put, you get a push notification in the morning that is something to the effect of 30 people think you should be with somebody else. Why not start a conversation?
That's really cool. So how do you find people who are going to do those matches for you? Is it just other daters, or can your friends and other people get on and suggest matches for you?
Yeah, so currently what we're working on is a version that it is just everyone's making matches on behalf of everyone else. So it's random people matching you up. For a premium subscription, the core feature set is free, but for a premium account, you can create a username which allows you to have your friends match you up directly. But other than that, it's kind of relying on the wisdom of the crowds.
Wow. Very interesting and unique, right? I mean, in comparison to other apps that I have no experience with, for the record.
Yeah, it is very, very different, and that's kind of my brand, so it works.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, Robbi, let's take a step back and talk about where the idea originated. And let's weave in Startup Weekend Spokane in that as well, because I know that you participated this past November.
Sure.
And won.
Yes, we did. We were fortunate. I've been trying to come up with a better origin story than what it was, but honestly, I was kind of wasted at a bar when I came up with Gravity. So that was that.
Don't try this at home, folks.
And then shortly thereafter, my co-founder and I got together, and we determined that we were going to go to Startup Weekend with the intent of winning so we could flag the investor community's attention. And we were fortunate enough to take first place.
Yeah.
And then we stumbled into Startup Spokane and the Mind and Market program, and they gave us a huge leg up by being the first people to come in and invest in us.
So let's dissect it a little further.
Sure.
Because we've got time, in this program to kind of talk a little more in detail about Startup Weekend. You came in with the idea, but during Startup Weekend, were there pivots? Did you make course corrections? You had a pretty robust team of individuals. I think you actually had the largest team. So let's just talk about how that experience actually helped continue to shape and evolve the original idea.
Yeah, it was a great experience. We had kind of a unique blend of hard skills, so anyone that is STEM oriented, and then the squishies, the business, marketing, all those fun people. And what it did for our application was really vet the bad ideas from the good ideas. So we started with, just all the pie in the sky ideas, like maybe we should, have these profile features and that. And it just allowed us to refine and distill into a concept that had as close to universal appeal as we could. And when you're working with a group, it vets the product really, really fast. And especially in a Startup Weekend environment with 54 hours on the table, there's really no time to get hung up on things. So you make decisions very, very quickly.
And you were in that process. You were doing some market validation, right? You were out surveying folks. Talk a little bit about that, because I mean, I think you cast a fairly wide net for such a short weekend.
We did. So we surveyed a ton of people. It was close to 300 some odd individuals, and that allowed us to hone in that people were frustrated with the status quo of dating apps, which was excellent news for us. And then we were able to conduct some early alpha tests and have people use the rudimentary version of the application we created, and that validated that people liked the alternative offering that we were bringing to the table. So when you couple a product that fits that need, when people are tired of what exists, with an experience that's really exciting, that's when you know you've got lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
And so how did Startup Weekend springboard you into bringing Gravity to life in the real world?
Yeah, I mean, it gave us that initial credibility. Startup Weekend also has some incentives if you take first place, including an opportunity to pitch at the Spokane Angel Alliance, which we were able to take care of. It gave us some time with some initial attorneys, some accountants, some marketing help, membership to Startup Spokane. So it really took us from being kind of that conceptual kind of idea to something that was real. I mean, it really made us into a company over a weekend.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, for Gravity and you and your team, a lot has happened in a very short period of time. It's been very compressed, right?
Yes.
You had a fairly large team at Startup Weekend. You and your co-founder, Patrick?
Yes.
Came to Startup Weekend with the idea. Did any of the other team members stick with you?
They're
afterwards?
all there. They're all there.
So they're still participating?
Yeah, so we have a Slack channel in which we keep everyone up to date. And they're not all in the area, so that's just the easiest way to communicate. And what Patrick and I told them is that it's Patrick and my time to do our job and raise funds. And once we've done that, we'll have a conversation, see everyone's role.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure everyone has some place at the table, whether it's in an advisory capacity, on the masthead, to honor the work that they did, because we wouldn't be here without them.
Yeah, and I've been involved in Startup Weekend since we started it in 2012, and that's unique too, because in most cases the teams disband out, after the weekend and kind of go and do their own thing. So kudos to you and your leadership, Robbi. I mean, I watched you personally during that weekend, and you were very team centric, and you really delegated. You celebrated with the team. You really included them, and I think that's just really. That doesn't happen all the time.
Well, the way I see it, that's my job.
Yeah.
I was leading the company. My singular responsibility is to surround myself with people that are smarter than me.
Right.
And whether that's investors, local resources, or a team, I'm just fortunate to often find those individuals that enhance my efficacy.
So how are you designed to compete against the other dating apps out there in the market? How are you going to kind of take on Tinder or Match.com and compete head-to-head? What's your strategy for that?
Well, the beauty of it is that most people that use dating applications use multiple dating apps in tandem. So we don't need to steal from Tinder to grow. And it's very plausible that there will be users of Gravity that are also using Bumble, Plenty of Fish, Grindr, whatever they're going to be. So for us, it's less about head-to-head competition, and it's more about reaching kind of that level of saturation that you need for a dating app to be effective. Because if you sign on and there's only 2 people, you're not going to have a good time.
Right.
So that's our biggest challenge.
And how you diversify yourself or separate yourself from some of these other apps is really kind of back to this crowdsourcing, or is that what you call it?
Correct.
Crowdsourcing.
Correct.
So let's talk a little bit more about that functionality. I mean, for a person like myself, I'm just trying to get my arms around how I visually understand how Gravity is going to be different than some of these other apps that you've described.
Yeah, so your queue of people that you've been matched up with has been curated by a collective of individuals.
And those individuals, are they people I know, or could they be anybody?
They are anyone by default. And so what you're not necessarily seeing is you're not getting a notification every time some stranger matches you and another person together. You're seeing kind of the top level of that when multiple people have started to make that recommendation for you to be with a person. So, materially speaking, it's less about, stranger on the street thinks that, John and Sally would be great together. It's no, there's this odd collective of total strangers that all had the same assumption that John and Sally would be better together.
Interesting.
Cool. So how do you ensure that every person who comes onto the app matches with somebody, or is that something you factor in?
The beauty of the matchmaker, since we're using this crowdsourcing, is that we really don't need to care where they're located. The matchmakers could be all in Arizona and they could be matching people in Washington. It really doesn't change the calculus. So by that in and of itself, that should provide ample supply of people who can do the matching, and everyone on the platform is a matchmaker. You cannot opt out of that. But you can also join the platform to exclusively be a matchmaker. So if you are in a relationship and you don't want to be given date recommendations, but you still want to play the game, you can still hop into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's an interesting word too, the gamification of dating. Talk a little bit about how that plays into it.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's used these apps before, they know they're extremely addictive. I mean, they're absolutely fun to play. And so we're doing something a little bit different, that we're going to be giving our matchmakers points for successful matches. So there's a leaderboard aspect to it. There's a competition aspect to it. And it takes that central question of, oh, am I a good matchmaker? Because we all like to think we are, and empirically proves it, and it really puts it to the test. So we're excited to see who climbs the top of the leaderboard. Maybe it's people in relationships, maybe it's perpetually single people.
So Robbi, is there another dimension where there's feedback as well? So like if you're not liking what people are suggesting, I mean, is there a mechanism that works against people that are trying to make matching?
Yeah, that's a version 2 feature.
Okay.
So yeah, feedback is something that we're definitely considering how to implement. We're very cautious about new features because we don't want anything to ever pass the creepy threshold. So, yeah, when you're playing with strangers' lives, you got to be very careful about that.
Yeah,
but feedback is definitely on the table.
And I guess that's why I was asking, is you could see people sort of, playing the game and jokingly matching people that really shouldn't be matched, right?
But then they would never meet the threshold because they could individually match that, but
Yeah.
they wouldn't pass that recommendation on because the aggregate wouldn't do that, right?
That's the hope.
Self-control.
Yeah, it is. But we'll look to expand and roll out those new features and keep the game interesting and active.
So
Very
before we
cool.
go to break, where are you in the process of, you just mentioned a version 2 feature, where are you with version 1? I mean...
Yeah, we're still in development right now. We're currently trying to close a Series seed round,
Yep.
and we're making some great progress on that. Development will certainly continue to happen once we close the round, but yep, it's still in an alpha mode.
Okay.
For sure.
And is there already a website if people are interested as they're watching and listening to this program?
Yeah.
Robbi, is there a place where they can go to sort of continue to, to get information, to track the progress, to say, hey, I want to be a beta tester?
It is
Talk a little bit about that.
gravityproject.co.
Okay, .co, not .com.
Yeah,
Gravity.
We're still working on getting a good .com.
Okay,
So.
good. And when should people expect for you to have your first version ready? What's sort of the high-level target?
We're still shooting for May.
Okay.
But a lot of it's going to be contingent on when we can close this Series seed round.
Right. Well, listen, we've got a lot to talk about still with Robbi Anthony from Gravity. Stay with us on Spokane Talks. We'll be right back.
They say it takes a community to raise a family. It also takes one to build a business. I came to Spokane 12 years ago as a Whitworth student, and I planned to leave after graduation. But the more I got to know this community, the more I wanted to become a part of it. My husband and I have built our business in Spokane, and now we're raising our family here too. We operate a consulting company that provides creative business development strategies. Our approach is holistic and dependent on intentional connections and relationships. And no one understands connections and relationships better than GSI. They direct momentum towards investments in our community, provide resources that help business leaders connect, and they're dedicated and passionate about making Spokane great. GSI gives me the confidence to build my business here because they believe every organization, even a small one like mine, adds big value to our community. With GSI's help, Spokane will be a place my son will want to build his career too. I'm Eva Marquette, owner of Freshview. We're creating something greater with Greater Spokane Incorporated.
Hi, this is Kurt Stockwell with Well Dressed Walrus. We are a local website design and development company here in Spokane. What we do is build beautiful, usable websites for local businesses. A website needs to be beautiful, it needs to be usable for your users, your customers, and yourself. Contact us anytime. We'd love to talk with you about your online marketing.
What? You haven't been to the library lately? Stop in today and see that the library is more than books. Spokane County Library District facilities feature on-site technology, including Wi-Fi, computers, and printers, as well as free use of meeting rooms. The Library District offers events and programs for all ages, from story times to career development and employer classes to Social Security workshops. Our staff is well trained and happy to help. Find out more about your library at scld.org.
Welcome back to Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks. We're having an interesting conversation with Robbi Anthony. I say it's interesting because I am way out of my comfort zone when we're talking about dating apps, says the guy who's been married for over 30 years. But what an incredible idea and journey that you're on. And we spent the first half kind of talking about the idea, the app, where, the functionality. We talked about Startup Weekend. Let's talk now about, you've mentioned seed funding, right? You're pursuing raising money, but before we get there, let's talk about kind of what got you to that point. And I think, Startup Spokane and Mind to Market as a program and a process, I think helped you with that, Robbi. So do you want to take a couple of minutes and talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, I would absolutely concur with the assessment that it helped us, and very instrumental to where we are right now. So once we exited Startup Weekend, it was, okay, what next? Right. And obviously we needed a space, we needed a headquarters. Startup Spokane was perfect for that. And then it must have been a couple days after that we reached out about Mind to Market. Mm-hmm. And Mind to Market really worked with us to get us in quickly and move us through with great haste, which was a huge lift because we wanted to move as fast as possible.
You're not very patient. You're like me, and that's not a bad thing.
That fits the entrepreneurship space well.
And that's right, and that's the way we operate as entrepreneurs. And so, within just really a matter of a couple of weeks, I think we had you in front of the Mind to Market investors.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yeah, so we gave our pitch. It was a 10-minute pitch, so twice as long as what we were accustomed to after Startup Weekend. Mm-hmm. But evidently, it was worthy enough to earn a $25,000 investment via SAFE, right. With a couple other interesting opportunities attached to that, and that gave us so much credibility as we started talking to other investors because we said we've been invested in, someone has vetted us. Mind to Market is an accelerator program, which is a huge indicator to any investor that we're not just complete amateurs and we're not just freewheeling on this one. There's the nod that we're not alone.
Yep, absolutely. I think it gives you incredible validation for other investors in the community. And I think one of the other things that came out of Startup Weekend and Mind to Market was this ability to put you in front of the Spokane Angel Alliance. Right?
Yes.
And so I know Tom Simpson offered you that opportunity. And did you present in January?
We did. We did. So in the spirit of moving as fast as humanly possible, we did that. And it was great. It was a great experience. We definitely felt like the audience appreciated the product and the presentation, and we've just been shaking trees ever since. We went down to Boise to pitch to kind of their equivalent of the Angel Alliance, and it just every step continues to accelerate the next.
Yeah, and you have a foundation of money now or capital that allows you to really move forward with your development?
Absolutely.
I mean, in parallel with continuing to raise money.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about how that dance is working.
Yeah. So prior to the investment, I was working on a laptop that the B, the R, and the M key were all broken. And when R is in your first name and so is B, that's very problematic. So actually being able to invest
that's funny.
in that physical infrastructure, the computer technology to code, is really why we're able to keep going at this point.
That's awesome.
And then the other thing that the funding from Mind to Market helped with is it allows us to be able to go to these places to pitch. It took us to Boise. Yeah. In April, we're going to Austin, Texas. And without that, we wouldn't have been able to afford it. So
that's fantastic.
That's fantastic. So you already have, from a team standpoint, do you already have the expertise that you need on your team and the skills that you need on your team to actually complete the development of the first version, or?
Yeah, more or less. We will be seeking some outside extra development help to make sure we can get the application to market at the speed we're looking to move. But in terms of, if we need to develop it ourselves in a garage, we could do it.
Right.
But if we want to get there by May, we're gonna bring some extra hands on for that first sprint.
And so what's been the biggest challenge since you actually started out bringing in money and trying to actually make this into an MVP product that you can put out in the market? What have you found the most challenging so far?
I mean, there's kind of two. Obviously, capital is very difficult to secure.
Sure.
I don't think that's necessarily unique to Spokane. I think that's just, most startups never make it out of the garage, so we're just kind of getting to that next level. Myself and Patrick are also members of the LGBT community. And being two founders that are part of that community is extremely difficult. It's presented a lot more challenges than I think him and I were expecting. And that's one that has not necessarily reflected on the business operations itself, but is very taxing from a entrepreneurial emotional stance. It kind of wears on us a lot because we're given a very different hand. Than some of our counterparts.
Yeah. How do you address that? How do you tackle that head on and push forward anyway?
Well, in terms of addressing it, you don't. I describe it as kind of kicking a porcupine. It's going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt the porcupine. So when people keep calling me a guy, I can't ever critique that. When I get ridiculed for, my appearance, I really can't go after that. So Patrick and I just keep our heads down, keep moving, and we assume that once we reach the level of high enough success, hopefully that disparity will grow increasingly less. So it's
a difficult place to be because, I hope you don't feel like you're getting that from the majority of the local community, because I know that the work you're doing is amazing, and I hope that the work you're putting out is speaking for itself to get past those barriers.
We're hoping. I mean, there's definitely challenges, and we don't think that most people are inherently malicious. There's just maybe a lack of understanding. For example, one of the questions we get a lot with respect to Gravity is, how are you going to make sure that this isn't a gay dating app? And if Patrick and I were not LGBT, I would reckon most people wouldn't ask.
They wouldn't even ask the question.
Yeah, so it's things like that. It's not mean-spirited. It's a lack of understanding.
No, I think so too. And it's a layer of adversity that you have to deal with above and beyond the other adversity of being an entrepreneur. So, hats off to you and Patrick for staying head down and doing what you're doing. I think at the end, you're going to create greater awareness in our community about those differences, right?
Yeah, we're excited to potentially level the playing field, and that people who follow in our wake will have an easier pathway. But at the end of the day, I've got a team, I've got investors that I have a responsibility to, and I would put my own feelings aside in a heartbeat to make sure I get the job done.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Call me what you will, except for one that is delinquent on getting a return on investment.
Well, thank you for being so willing to share that. I think that's
important. Being receptive.
Robbi, let's talk in the last few minutes that we have. Let's talk about your big goals here for this year. Obviously, you've mentioned May is sort of the line in the sand for getting your application out. Is this an iOS and Android app? What's the platform?
Yes, iOS and Android.
Okay.
We had to go with both.
And are you planning to have both launched in version 1 by May?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Where are you going to start? How are you going to create a community that's cohesive and start somewhere?
So we're going to start in Spokane. Spokane's an excellent place to start software because it's big enough that you can really kind of test things out, but it's not a major metro market, which has some different elements to it.
Sure.
We're going to roll out to college students. So Gonzaga, Whitworth, Eastern, the Falls, and just go from there. By the end of the year, we're hoping to have about 55,000 users. We should be on version 1.2 at that stage.
Nice.
And more likely than not, we'll be raising for either a second seed or a Series A.
And how do you monetize that? So you had mentioned that your initial rollout is going to, or at least the initial entry level is free for the user. So
Correct.
Do you do ads? How are you going to make money?
We will have premium accounts. So for the people that want to pay for it, they can get some extra features like changing the aesthetic of the app, like switching over to a dark mode. But by far and away, the most requested feature is that ability to be matched up by your friends.
Yeah,
So for $5 a month, you can create a username, you can send it to the people you care about, and you'll still be matched up by the crowd, but you'll see the distinction of those people that you know personally matching you up.
No longer are the days of beer pong. Now it's drink beer, sit on the couch with your friends, and match people up.
Exactly.
Right, Robbi. And again, let's remind our viewers where they can go for more information on Gravity.
It's gravityproject.co.
Great. And yeah, what a great conversation. We're thrilled to be, watching your journey.
Yeah.
And I know that the investor community is interested in embracing you, and every step forward that you make just creates more opportunity for future success. I think you guys are doing something that's very unique. Again, way outside of my area of expertise, but it sure sounds like a lot of fun, and really wish you all the best. So thanks for joining us on Startup Spokane on Spokane Talks Media. Hopefully you'll join us again soon for another podcast where we highlight other entrepreneurs and resources for entrepreneurs in the Spokane region. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.
Startup Spokane is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is a joint effort between GSI's Startup Spokane, Well Dressed Walrus, and Spokane Talks Online. Ask a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com. We wish you a great and profitable day.